Hola y bienvenidos. Hello, welcome. Today we're going to talk about construction Spanish. The last half is basically construction Spanish in sentences, very easy sentences that we'll build up to. So if you don't want to learn those, just watch the first half. We're also going to talk about how to ask somebody how many of something that they have, and we'll learn some numbers. So the word tener is to have. So when you have an ER or an AR or an IR at the end of a verb, it's going to be the to form of the verb, which is called the infinitive form. But with the kids at school, I just call it the dictionary form. So that's going to be like anything you want to look up is going to be like to speak or to walk or to talk. And then you would see the R at the end and you'd be like, okay, I need to conjugate it. So what is conjugating? All right, we've been talking about that where you just put the endings on and it tells you, I know this has changes up at the front too, but we'll just memorize it. And so by having the endings on the end here, you know that this is I have. So you don't even need to say yo tango because this is I have. You could just say tango and it means I have. So I'm going to say these in English once, then I'll say them in Spanish twice. I'm doing this for the people that are learning in the car, like on the way to work. And so I want you to be able to hear the English and then think of it and speak it in Spanish and then correct it in Spanish if you need to with me. So here we go. I have, yo tengo, yo tengo. You have, tú tienes. He has, él tiene, él tiene. We have, nosotros tenemos, nosotros tenemos. Vosotros is only used in Spain, so we're not going to learn that one. Ellos tienen, that's they have. We're only going to focus on these two top ones on the left because we're going to have conversations generally with one person like, hey, do you have 10 nails? No, I don't have 10 nails. And then if you really want to learn Spanish, there's plenty of ways to take care of that later. Do you have a ladder? If I'm going to make that question, I already taught you the you have part in the last slide. I didn't teach you the word do. However, it works as the upside down question mark, which if you're speaking Spanish, not writing it, you can't see the question mark. But you can use your shoulders to show that you're asking a question, or you can use voice inflection. So here we go. Do you have a ladder? ¿Tienes una escalera? ¿Tienes una escalera? So you might notice that word from like you're scaling a wall or an escalator, so you know it's going up. The answer would be yes, I have a ladder. Sí, tengo una escalera. Sí, tengo una escalera. Do you have a drill? ¿Tienes un taladro? ¿Tienes un taladro? Your answer might be that you don't have a drill. No, no tengo un taladro. No, no tengo un taladro. Do you have to say no twice? No, but this is like the official Spanish book way to do it. Almost nobody does it this way any longer, but that's fine. I wanted you to know if somebody says it to you this way. How do you say a or an in Spanish? Well, in English, you're used to picking between a and an depending on the initial sound, the vowel sound or the consonant sound of the next word, which would be a noun. So in Spanish, they don't go by that at all. The words that deal with a or an actually have to do with whether the noun is a female or a male. And you're saying to me, okay, how do I know if this desk is a female or a male? I know it sounds really weird for English speakers. So let's look at the boots. Are the boots female or male? Well, here's how you know. The A for bota, boots, let's look over here. The A tells you it's female. Well, how can you remember that? So think about the words Maria and Mario. Maria is a girl, Mario is a boy. The A is going to be female. So do you have some boots? So notice how it's plural so that there's AS at the end and there's AS right here. They match. So we're good. Let's go look at our chart for a second. Un and una is A, and then unos and unas are some, depending on if it's male or female. You might wonder where the uno is because you know the word uno means one. Well, yes, it does mean one, and that's why it's not here, is because it's only for counting. Let's go to the next one. Do you have a hammer? ¿Tienes un martillo? ¿Tienes un martillo? You would say un because it's masculine. No, no tengo un martillo. No, no tengo un martillo. Remember, the two L's make a Y sound. Now let's talk about how to ask somebody how many they have of something. So the word you would use is cuantos. It's like quantity, and there's an S at the end, so you know that it's plural. Cuantos. So let's start with some numbers. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. I'm just going to go through them and say them once in Spanish. If you really want to learn more about numbers, I have some suggestions for channels that I like in the learning language tips section of the video. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, diez, once, doce, trece, catorce, quince, dieciséis, diecisiete, 18, 19, 20. So you will note that at the last one, 20, it's, if you look at it, it has a V sound. But when you hear it, it has a B sound. And that's because the B and the V are kind of interchangeable in Spanish. Don't get caught up on it. Don't worry about it. Let's go to the next section. 50, 50, that's 50. 60, 70, 80, 90, ciento. And then there's cien that I added. What is the difference between ciento and cien? They're both 100. Well, ciento is when you're going to add to it, like 101. But cien by itself is just 100. You can remember that because of, like, there's 100 years in a century, or things like percentage. So if I'm asking how many rooms and bathrooms you have, you would ask, ¿Cuántos cuartos y baños tienes? ¿Cuántos cuartos y baños tienes? Then you would answer, I have 4 rooms and 2 bathrooms. Tengo 4 cuartos y 2 baños. I know that I put those together just to mess with you. And so it's cuatro cuartos. So they just flipped the R and the T back and forth. Let's do it again. Tengo 4 cuartos y 2 baños. How old are you? So they don't ask actually how old you are. They asked, how many years do you have? And so you would answer, well, I have, with your number of years. So let's try it out. ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿Cuántos años tienes? And then if I were 25, I would answer, I have 25 years. Tengo 25 años. Tengo 25 años. How many bricks do you have? ¿Cuántos ladrillos tienes? Now notice you've got 2 options there. Why? Because there are 20 countries that speak Spanish, and some might use ladrillos and some might use tabiques. I checked with a friend of mine who's in construction, and he said almost everybody uses both, so it doesn't matter. So you wouldn't say both of them, but I'll just go with the first one. ¿Cuántos ladrillos tienes? And if you want to answer that you have 50 bricks, you would say, Tengo 50 ladrillos. Tengo 50 ladrillos. So for our learning tips today, I have 3 websites that I trust and use daily in class. The first one is Spanish Listening. What he does is he says the number. It's a native speaker. Clearly, I'm not. And he says the number to you, and then you write it down. And then he says like 20 numbers, and you write them down. And then at the end, he reveals the answers. And so you can see if you can figure out what the answers are. It's fantastic. Strongly recommend it. He also does other listening dictation. The second site here, which is Fluency Prof, I use them also, native speaker. And what I do is for teaching them numbers, and this is what I want you to do when you go to this site. I want you to say the number that's coming up. For example, when they see the word 26, I want them to say 27 as fast as they can. 27. And then the person says 27, so they know immediately with feedback if they got it correct. Goes up to 100. They also have them up to like 1,000. So this next guy is the language tutor. He's also a UGA professor, I believe, and he teaches every topic you would ever want to know in Spanish. He's a little long-winded, just letting you know, but I would look on his website for he's YouTube. For anything you want to learn. Should you use Google Translate? It's right about 95% of the time. And yes, it's computer correct, but it doesn't know what you're thinking. For example, instead of like hang out, I want to hang out with my friends, it might give you the word like a hanger outside in the yard, like you threw a hanger out there. So it doesn't go with our colloquialisms and our thought processes. So if you want an actual dictionary, because maybe you're on a construction site and the person doesn't understand your Spanish and you want to look it up the word because maybe they're from a different country than all the other workers, then you would look it up in wordreference.com. It's a dictionary. It's right every time, and it will give you 4 or 5 different words for the different countries. So here we start with our lists of construction words that I will pronounce. Window, ventana, ventana. Looks like ventilation. Screw, tornillo, tornillo. Screwdriver, destornillador, destornillador. To tear down, deshacer, deshacer. To do, hacer, hacer. To speak, hablar, hablar. Pliers, cangrejo, cangrejo. Now that is the actual word for a crab, and it's not in any dictionary that I know of, but my friends that I know from Guatemala and Honduras, I think, they both said that this is the word that they use, and so it's fine that they would use a crab for pliers. I used the word pinzas, but they didn't know the word for pinzas. So there you go. So to lower, bajar, bajar. The next section, these are words that look just like English because of the sion at the end. For example, like frustration or television or conversation. It's just like that in Spanish. Here we go. Safety glasses, which are really, if you look at it, lenses of protection. Lentes de protección, lentes de protección. Address, dirección, dirección. Corner, rincón, rincón. Section, sección, sección. Now let's talk about the average pronunciation if you're going to attempt a word and I'm not with you there at the construction site or dinner table and you need a word and you're going to attack it and you just have the written word in the dictionary. How should you pronounce it? Well, almost all the words have many of the words have the natural accent, like where your body does the accent on the second to last syllable of the word. Now, that doesn't mean it has like a tilde for an accent mark. We've got ceiling, which is techo. So notice my body did techo. So it's naturally giving you the accent techo, and I'm pulling it back. So kitchen would be cocina, cocina. So you are going cocina, but you're not actually going to do that with your body, just your voice. Let's go with the next ones. Wire, alambre, alambre. Floor, piso, piso. Outlet, corriente, corriente. Help, ayuda, ayuda. Block, bloques, bloques. That's actually blocks. Roof, techo, techo. Neighborhood, vecindario, vecindario. Or barrio, barrio. Now we have some words with some just randomized pronunciation. Electricity, poder, poder. That also means power or able to. So there's really 3 definitions here. So you might want to, you could say electricidad, electricidad. but I wanted you to know the word poder in case anybody uses it with you. But I would stick with electricidad. So we've got light switch, interruptor, interruptor because it's interrupting the circuit. Light by itself, one light is luz, luz. But if you've got two lights, that's luces, luces. Materials, materiales, materiales. Electric, eléctrico. Adios.